First Contact Protocol. High Admiral Varine of the Ketheri Empire stood at the command center of the Eternal Dawn, her flagship's crystalline displays reflecting the soft blue glow of Earth in the distance. The invasion fleet of 300 ships hung motionless in the dark void, their stealth systems rendering them invisible to what the Ketheri believed were primitive human detection methods. "Begin the approach sequence," Varine commanded, her four-fingered hand brushing across the neural interface. Standard Conquest Protocol. Admiral. Her sensor chief's voice carried an unfamiliar note of alarm. Multiple quantum signatures detected. They're everywhere. The space around the Ketheri fleet erupted with activity as hundreds of small beacons winked into existence, each no larger than a human fist. They formed a perfect sphere around the invasion force, their presence previously masked by technology far beyond anything the Ketheri had encountered. "Impossible," Varine whispered. "Their technological level is centuries behind." A transmission cut through every frequency, bypassing the fleet's most sophisticated encryption. The voice that filled the command center spoke in perfect Ketheri. "This is an automated warning system of the Galactic Safety Council. You have entered restricted space around a protected species. Please be advised. Humans are classified as Category Omega. Withdrawal is strongly recommended." Varine's secondary hearts quickened. Category Omega was a classification she'd only heard whispered about in the Empire's most secure archives. "Display the warning codes," she ordered, her voice steady despite her growing unease. The codes that appeared were authenticated by species she'd never even heard of, some dating back millions of years. Each carried the same message: "Leave the humans alone." "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from Earth's direction. They know we're here." Before Varine could respond, a new transmission arrived, this one directly from Earth. The human who appeared on her screen wore what appeared to be a simple uniform, his expression calm despite addressing an invisible alien fleet. "This is General Santos of Earth Defense Command. We track everything larger than a marble in our solar system. Your stealth technology is impressive, but we've been watching you since you crossed the Kuiper Belt." He paused, allowing that to sink in. "We're transmitting our first contact protocols now. You're welcome to follow them and open diplomatic channels, or you can leave. Those are your only options." Varine's mandibles clicked in agitation. The casual revelation that humans could detect their most advanced stealth systems was concerning enough. But the general's calm demeanor suggested either supreme confidence or complete madness. "Show me their defensive capabilities," she ordered. The tactical display updated, and Varine felt her exoskeleton tighten. The humans had somehow masked most of their orbital infrastructure. Satellites that had appeared civilian in nature now revealed military capabilities. Space stations shifted configuration, weapon systems emerging from hidden compartments. But what truly caught her attention were the energy readings from Earth itself. The planet's magnetic field was being manipulated in ways her scientists had theorized but never achieved, creating a planetary defense system that could redirect the power of solar flares themselves. "Admiral," her intelligence officer interrupted, "incoming data packet from the warning beacons. Historical footage of human capabilities." The footage began playing across multiple screens, humans surviving in environments that would kill most species instantly, individuals continuing to fight despite injuries that should have been fatal, communities rebuilding after disasters that would have broken most civilizations. But most disturbing were the training exercises, humans deliberately exposing themselves to hostile conditions, pushing their limits, treating survival scenarios as entertainment. One clip showed a human climbing an ice-covered mountain without protective gear. Another displayed underwater activities in crushing depths. A third revealed humans running incredible distances across burning deserts. For fun. "They're insane," someone whispered on the command deck. "No," Varine corrected, understanding dawning. "There's something else entirely." She straightened her spine, decision made. "Stand down weapons. open a channel to Earth Defense Command. As her crew complied, Vereen reflected on the stories she dismissed as mere legends, tales of species that had tried to conquer Earth, only to discover why humans were classified as Category Omega. They weren't just survivors, they were beings who actively sought out challenge, who thrived on overcoming impossible odds, who turned mere survival into an art form. The Cathari Empire had conquered dozens of worlds, but Earth would not be among them. Some laws, Vereen realized, existed for very good reasons, and don't harm humans was perhaps the most important of them all. Channel open, Admiral. Vereen took a deep breath. General Santos, this is High Admiral Vereen. We accept your offer of diplomatic contact, and we apologize for our initial approach. We didn't understand. Now we do. The general's slight smile suggested he'd seen this realization many times before. Welcome to Earth space, Admiral. Shall we begin? The human factor. 3 days after the Cathari fleet's arrival, High Admiral Vereen found herself in an unexpected location, a human military training facility in a region they called Alaska. She watched through the facility's reinforced windows as snow blanketed the harsh landscape, her environmental suit working overtime against the bitter cold that humans seemed to barely notice. Remarkable, isn't it? Dr. Sarah Chen, her assigned diplomatic liaison, stood comfortably in a simple insulated jacket. This facility specializes in extreme environment training. We're actually having a mild day. It gets down to -60 degrees Celsius during peak winter. Vereen's sensor suite struggled to process that information. Your species trains in these conditions, voluntarily. Some people specifically request this posting, Sarah replied with a slight smile. They find it invigorating. Before Vereen could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Sarah's communication device buzzed, and her expression shifted to concern. We have a situation. Would you like to observe our emergency response protocols? Vereen's diplomatic training warned against involving herself in human military operations, but curiosity won out. Lead the way. They rushed to the facility's command center, where organized chaos reigned. A research team had become stranded in the mountains during a sudden storm, their vehicle disabled by an avalanche. Conditions were deteriorating rapidly, with temperatures plummeting and winds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. Impossible to get aircraft up in this, someone reported. We'll have to go in on the ground. Vereen's auxiliary hearts nearly stopped when she saw the meteorological data. Surely you're not sending people out in these conditions. The risk calculations. Already have 6 volunteers, a gruff commander interrupted, pointing to a group of humans gearing up. They were laughing, joking with each other as they prepared to venture into conditions that would kill most species in minutes. Sarah noticed Vereen's reaction. Would you like to observe from our tactical center? You'll be able to monitor the entire operation. The next 4 hours redefined Vereen's understanding of human capabilities. She watched as the rescue team battled conditions her own species would consider unsurvivable. They moved through the storm with practiced efficiency, using nothing more sophisticated than ropes and primitive wheeled vehicles modified for snow. When one of their vehicles became stuck, they simply got out and pushed, standing exposed in the lethal wind. When they finally reached the research team, they didn't just rescue them. They recovered critical scientific equipment as well, refusing to let mere survival take precedence over their mission objectives. This isn't even considered particularly noteworthy, Sarah explained as they watched the team's return. Similar operations happen at research stations all over Earth, Antarctica, the Himalayas, deep-sea facilities. Humans push boundaries everywhere we go. Later that evening, Vereen sat in her quarters aboard the Eternal Dawn, composing her report to the Empire. Her fingers hovered over the neural interface as she struggled to convey what she'd witnessed. The human's relationship with environmental extremes defies conventional analysis, she wrote. Where other species evaluate risk versus reward, humans appear to view challenge itself as reward. Their training exercises routinely exceed emergency scenarios for most civilizations. What we would consider a survival situation, they consider a learning opportunity. She attached sensor data from the rescue operation, knowing it would cause considerable concern among Imperial High Command. The humans had casually displayed physical and psychological resilience that bordered on the impossible. A priority communication from her science officer interrupted her report. "Admiral, we've completed our analysis of human medical practices. You need to see this immediately." The data that scrolled across her screen left Vereen speechless. Humans routinely survived injuries that would be fatal to most species. They had evolved redundant systems, extraordinary healing capabilities, and a pain tolerance that seemed almost mythological. More incredibly, they deliberately cut open their own bodies for medical procedures, routinely stopped and restarted their hearts, and transplanted organs between individuals. They're not just adapting to their environment, Vereen realized. They're adapting their environment to themselves, and themselves to their environment, simultaneously and continuously. A memory surfaced, something Sarah had said during their first meeting. Humans don't just survive. We explore, we push limits, we break boundaries. It's not about necessity. It's about possibility. Vereen added a final note to her report. The galactic classification of humans as Category Omega appears inadequate. They are not merely dangerous if threatened. They are dangerous because they choose to be, constantly testing themselves against the universe itself. The old adage, "don't harm humans," perhaps misses the point entirely. The real warning should be, don't assume you can. As she transmitted the report, Vereen reflected on tomorrow's scheduled observation of a human spacewalk training facility. Sarah had mentioned something about underwater training protocols that simulated zero gravity. Somehow, Vereen suspected she hadn't even begun to understand the full scope of human capabilities. The stars outside her viewport seemed different now, the darkness between them, filled with new possibilities and warnings. Humanity wasn't just another species to be studied or avoided. They were a force of nature disguised as sentient beings, and the galaxy would never be quite the same now that they were reaching for the stars. Adaptive measures. Impact in 47 hours, the holographic projection announced dispassionately. The asteroid's trajectory glowed red against the backdrop of Earth and its orbital defenses, its mass more than sufficient to trigger an extinction-level event. High Admiral Vereen stood in the Combined Command Center, hastily established in the lunar base Armstrong, watching humans react to impending catastrophe. She had expected panic, chaos, or at least signs of distress. Instead, she witnessed something far more terrifying. Enthusiasm. "Finally get to test the Basilisk Protocol," General Santos said, his eyes gleaming as he studied the projection. "Admiral Vereen, how quickly can your ships reach these coordinates?" The casual tone made Vereen's translator stutter. You have a protocol for this specific scenario." "We have protocols for everything." Dr. Chen appeared at her side, tablets floating around her in a cloud of data. Asteroid impacts, solar flares, gamma-ray bursts, alien invasions, though we'll have to update that last one now. She smiled at Vereen. "We call it pragmatic paranoia." The next hour transformed Vereen's understanding of human crisis response. The command center filled with experts from both species, but it was the humans who drove the conversation in unexpected directions. While Cathari engineers proposed conventional solutions involving their fleet's energy weapons, humans suggested approaches that seemed to border on madness. "Look," Dr. Rodriguez, a physicist with an unsettling grin, pointed to a simulation. "If we combine your quantum field generators with our magnetic pulse arrays, we could theoretically create a gravitational lens effect. Bend space just enough tow. That would tear apart half our fleet," Vereen's science officer protested. "Only if we do it wrong," Rodriguez countered. "And we'll test it first, of course. Anyone up for a quick trip to the Kuiper Belt?" Before Vereen could process this casual suggestion of experimental space-time manipulation, another human team proposed using the asteroid itself as a weapon against itself. The mathematics made Varine's head spin, but the humans were already moving to implementation, treating near-impossible calculations as an entertaining puzzle. "Admiral," her tactical officer whispered, "they're enjoying this." The realization struck Varine. Humans didn't just plan for disasters. They imagined them constantly, spinning scenarios and solutions as a form of entertainment. What other species would create something called a disaster movie for amusement? 20 hours later, Varine watched in astonishment as the combined human Cathari fleet executed what the humans had dubbed Operation Billiard Shot. The Cathari ship's quantum field generators, never designed for such precise manipulation, created a gravitational corridor guided by Earth's magnetic field manipulation technology. The asteroid, its trajectory altered by carefully placed nuclear detonations, humans insisted on keeping some classics in the mix, split precisely as calculated. The larger fragment was caught in the gravitational lens and hurled into a stable solar orbit, while the smaller piece was deliberately guided into the moon's dark side, impacting in a pre-selected crater. For future mining, a human engineer had explained with a shrug. As celebration erupted in the command center, Varine noticed Dr. Chen making notes. "Already documenting the success?" she asked. "Actually, on listing improvements for next time," Sarah replied. "The gravitational lens took 0.3 seconds longer to stabilize than our models predicted. We should be able to optimize that. Plus, Marcus has some ideas about using quantum entanglement to enhance the precision of the nuclear detonations." Varine's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "You're already planning improvements. We just prevented an extinction-level event." "Exactly." Sarah's eyes lit up. "And we learned so much. Did you see how the asteroid's composition affected the quantum field harmonics? We need to run more tests. Would your fleet be interested in helping us set up a permanent research station in the Kuiper Belt? We could intentionally redirect more asteroids, study different compositions, maybe explore some theoretical applications of the gravitational lens effect." Later, in her private quarters, Varine updated the Cathari Empire's classification of humanity. Under crisis response protocols, she wrote, "Humans do not simply survive disasters. They anticipate them, plan for them, and view them as opportunities for advancement. Most disturbingly, they appear to find genuine enjoyment in confronting scenarios that would traumatize other species. Recommendation: consider any human solution to a crisis, no matter how apparently insane. They have likely already tested it in simulation, if not in actual practice." She paused, then added, "Additional note. When humans suggest testing an experimental procedure, they mean immediately, regardless of risk. Their phrase, 'no time like the present,' should be treated as a warning." Through her viewport, Varine could see the newly arrived Cathari science vessels, drawn by reports of the successful asteroid deflection. She wondered if they knew what they were getting into. Already, she'd heard humans discussing possible applications of the gravitational lens technology, their ideas ranging from faster-than-light communication to interesting ways to rearrange solar systems. The galaxy, Varine reflected, had no idea what was coming. Humanity wasn't just reaching for the stars. They were planning to rearrange them, preferably in ways that defied conventional physics, and they would probably enjoy every moment of it. Breaking point. The emergency alert caught High Admiral Varine during a diplomatic dinner in Geneva. Commander Galactic, her most trusted officer, interrupted with news that made her crystalline exoskeleton ripple with alarm. A splinter group of Cathari warships had broken formation and was heading toward Earth's asteroid mining operations. "Commodore Zelkin leads them," Galactic reported. "He claims the Empire's new alliance with Earth makes us weak. They disabled the mining station's long-range communications." Varine's inner membranes contracted with fury. Zelkin had always been a hardliner, opposed to diplomatic solutions. "How many ships?" 12 warships, Admiral. They're jamming all frequencies except." Galactic paused. "The humans are laughing." General Santos stood nearby, his communication device displaying tactical data. His expression wasn't one of concern, but rather the same unsettling enthusiasm Vereen had learned to recognize. "Perfect timing," he said. "We've been wanting to field test our new defense systems." The next few hours demonstrated why the galaxy's oldest civilizations had classified Earth as off-limits. Zelkin's fleet, equipped with the Empire's most advanced weaponry, encountered what humans casually referred to as their hobby projects. First came the automated defense platforms disguised as ordinary mining equipment. They activated the moment Zelkin's ships opened fire, unleashing experimental weapons that shouldn't have existed given Earth's technological level. The platform's quantum phase disruptors, reverse-engineered from technology humans had merely observed during the asteroid crisis, bypassed Ketheri shields as if they weren't there. "Did you just recreate our most advanced defensive technology by watching it in action?" Vereen asked, mandibles clicking in disbelief. "Oh, those are just the prototypes," Dr. Chen replied casually. "Marcus thought your quantum field generators were interesting, so he tinkered with the concept during his free time. The full-scale versions aren't ready yet." Before Vereen could process the implications of humans treating advanced quantum physics as a hobby, the situation escalated. Zelkin's forces, regrouping after the initial shock, deployed their heavy weaponry against Earth's orbital infrastructure. They discovered that what appeared to be vulnerable stations were actually elaborate traps. "Titanium foam," a human engineer explained as they watched Zelkin's ships struggle against the rapidly expanding substance, originally developed for construction in zero gravity. But someone realized it makes a great ship immobilizer. The more energy you use trying to break free, the harder it gets. Zelkin, growing desperate, ordered his remaining ships to target Earth directly. That's when Vereen witnessed something that would haunt her memories forever: humans getting creative. Earth's magnetosphere rippled as hidden installations activated. The same technology that had helped deflect the asteroid now turned Earth's natural magnetic field into a weapon. Solar wind particles, normally deflected by the magnetosphere, were channeled into concentrated streams that overwhelmed Ketheri sensors. But it was the ground-based response that truly demonstrated humanity's approach to warfare. Civilian communications networks seamlessly transformed into military command systems. Ordinary citizens coordinated with defense forces, sharing observations and analysis. Amateur astronomers provided targeting data with professional precision. "Is your entire species military?" Vereen asked, watching the seamless coordination. "Not exactly," General Santos replied. "We just have a lot of enthusiastic hobbyists. Did you know we have clubs dedicated to tracking space objects? They've been following your ship since they entered the system, comparing notes on social media." The final blow to Zelkin's rebellion came from an unexpected source. A group of human students, monitoring the battle as part of what they called an extra credit project, identified a pattern in Ketheri shield frequencies. They submitted their analysis through their university's website, and within minutes, Earth's defense networks adapted their weapons accordingly. Zelkin's surrender came shortly after his flagship's primary systems were disabled by what Vereen later learned was a modified version of human mining technology, repurposed with disturbing efficiency. In the aftermath, as Ketheri security forces boarded the rogue ships, Vereen received a priority message from Imperial Command. Her report on human military capabilities had prompted a comprehensive review of the Empire's defense protocols. The conclusion was unanimous. The old warnings about Earth had been, if anything, understated. The humans didn't just defeat a Ketheri battle fleet, Vereen wrote in her final report. They treated it as an opportunity to test theories, improve systems, and gather data for future projects. Most concerning of all, they appeared to genuinely enjoy the challenge. She added a personal note. "The humans have a saying, 'Necessity is the mother of invention.' What we fail to understand is that humans don't wait for necessity. They invent constantly, relentlessly, out of sheer curiosity. When actual necessity arrives, They've often already developed multiple solutions, usually as part of what they call recreational activities or hobbies. A message from Dr. Chen interrupted her report. Exciting news! The data from the battle helped us solve some theoretical problems with our quantum phase technology. Want to see the preliminary designs for an improved version? Vereen stared at the message, remembering another human saying she'd recently learned. Be careful what you wish for. The galaxy had wished for humans to remain isolated on their death world. Instead, they were now reaching for the stars, armed with technology they'd developed for fun and an enthusiasm for challenges that bordered on madness. The Empire would adapt. Vereen knew. It had to. Because the alternative was trying to suppress a species that treated impossible problems as entertaining puzzles and responded to threats by inventing new laws of physics. The new protocol. The Galactic Council chamber, normally a model of dignified procedure, had descended into chaos. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations argued over the latest reports from Earth, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the overlapping voices. High Admiral Vereen stood at the center of the storm, her testimony having triggered this unprecedented emergency session. The holographic displays around her showed scenes from the past month. Humans reverse engineering Cathari quantum technology, the defeat of Zelkin's rebel fleet, and most alarmingly, the casual way humans have begun improving upon technologies that had taken other species centuries to develop. Order. The Council Elders' harmonics cut through the noise. Admiral Vereen, please clarify. Are you suggesting that humans developed functional quantum phase technology by watching our ships use it? Not exactly, Elder. Vereen's mandibles clicked nervously. They developed it by watching our ships use it once. They called it an interesting puzzle and solved it in their spare time. Fresh chaos erupted. A Mareth representative, their fur bristling with alarm, spoke over the din. But the warning beacons, the Category Omega classification, was supposed to keep them isolated until they'd evolved past there. Their what? Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward from where she'd been observing. As Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council, she'd spent most of the session watching with barely concealed amusement. Our tendency to treat galactic laws of physics as polite suggestions. Our habit of turning theoretical impossibilities into weekend projects. The chamber fell silent. Chen continued, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. You've all been operating under a fundamental misconception. You thought the warning beacons were there to protect us from you. She smiled. They were there to protect you from us. Vereen watched the impact of those words ripple through the assembly. She'd come to the same realization during her time on Earth. The ancient species who'd first encountered humanity hadn't established the warning system out of benevolence. They'd done it out of pragmatic fear of what would happen when humans finally reached the stars. Consider this, Chen continued, activating her own holographic display. In the month since we gained access to Cathari technology, we've improved quantum field efficiency by 47%. We've adapted your gravitational lens technology for faster-than-light communication. We've even started experimenting with time dilation effects, though that's mostly graduate students working on their theses. The Mareth representative's translator squealed in distress. Graduate students, you're allowing students to experiment with temporal mechanics. Of course, Chen replied. How else will they learn? Besides, they're carefully supervised. Usually. Vereen stepped forward, knowing she needed to guide this conversation toward a constructive conclusion. Honored Council, I spent considerable time among humans. They're not a threat to galactic peace. Quite the opposite. They're possibly the most cooperative species I've encountered, provided they're treated with respect. She gestured to the holographic displays, changing them to show other scenes. Human and Cathari scientists working together, the combined fleet defending Earth from the asteroid, the rapid advancement of shared technologies. Humans don't want to conquer the galaxy, Vereen continued. They want to understand it, improve it, solve its puzzles. Yes, they're dangerous, but not because they're hostile. They're dangerous because they're relentlessly creative, because they treat impossible challenges as personal invitations, and because they genuinely enjoy solving problems that other species would consider existential threats. The council elder's crystalline form shimmered thoughtfully. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "A new protocol," Vereen replied. "Not don't harm humans, but collaborate with humanity. They've already proven they can reverse engineer our most advanced technology simply by observing it. Imagine what they could accomplish as full partners in galactic civilization." "And if we refuse?" someone called out. Chen's smile widened slightly. "Then we'll figure it out anyway, probably while trying to solve some unrelated problem. Did you know we discovered your quantum communication frequencies while calibrating deep space radio telescopes? Some amateur astronomers picked up the signals and thought it was an interesting pattern." The council chamber erupted in fresh discussions, but Vereen could see the shift in attitude. Fear was giving way to cautious curiosity. Several scientific representatives were already taking notes, probably planning research collaborations. The final resolution, when it came, was perhaps inevitable. Humanity would be welcomed into the galactic community not as a protected species, but as a catalyst for advancement. The warning beacons would remain, but with a modified message. Approach with caution and bring interesting problems. Later, as Vereen prepared to return to Earth with the good news, she found Chen in the Council's observation dome, watching the strange stars of the galactic core. "Your people took that better than I expected," Chen said, "though I think some of them are still processing the idea of undergraduate quantum mechanics courses." Vereen's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Wait until they discover your entertainment media. My cultural research team is still trying to understand why humans create simulations of disasters for fun." Speaking of fun, Chen's eyes glinted with that now familiar look of enthusiasm. "Some of our physicists have been studying the council chamber's artificial gravity system. We have some ideas for improvements." Vereen felt her exoskeleton tingle with what she now recognized as anticipation rather than fear. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. Humanity was reaching for the stars not with conquest in mind, but with questions, ideas, and an insatiable desire to solve every puzzle the universe could offer. And somehow, that was both more terrifying and more promising than any invasion could ever be.